The stars looked different when you knew they were dying. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the human ship New Horizon and watched another solar system burn in the distance. The red glow meant the Zephyrian Empire had used their plasma bombs again. The blue flash that followed meant the Korthic Federation had answered with their ion cannons. 473 years. That was how long this war had been going on. Jake was only 35 years old, but his father had fought in this war, and his grandfather before him, and his great-grandfather before that. Nobody alive could remember when the galaxy had been at peace. "Captain Morrison, we have a problem," said Lieutenant Amy Patterson as she walked onto the bridge. She was the chief science officer and the smartest person Jake had ever met. Amy used to be a teacher on Earth before everything went wrong. Now she spent her days trying to keep 50,000 humans alive while 2 alien empires tried to kill each other. "What kind of problem?" Jake asked. He was tired of problems. Every day brought new ones. "The long-range sensors show both fleets moving toward the Kepler system. That's where we were planning to stop for supplies," Amy said. She pulled up a star map on the main screen. Red dots showed Zephyrian ships. Blue dots showed Korthic ships. Both groups were heading for the same place. Jake rubbed his forehead. "How many ships?" "About 3,000 on each side. It's going to be one of the biggest battles yet." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. When the aliens fought big battles, everything around them got destroyed. Planets, moons, space stations, and any ships that got too close. The aliens didn't care about anything except killing each other. Jake thought about the 50,000 people sleeping in the cold storage bays below. They were all that was left of humanity. Earth was gone, turned into space dust 2 years ago when a Zephyrian battleship crashed into a Korthic dreadnought right in Earth's orbit. The explosion had been so big it destroyed the moon too. "Show me the war map," Jake said. Amy touched her control pad and the screen changed. The galaxy appeared, covered in red and blue zones. Red meant Zephyrian control. Blue meant Korthic control. The thin green line between them showed the war front, where most of the fighting happened. There were very few gray areas left, neutral space where nobody was fighting. "Look at this," Amy said, pointing to the screen. "The war front has barely moved in 50 years. Neither side can win. They just keep fighting over the same systems again and again." Dr. Ben Clark walked over to join them. He was the ship's doctor and had been studying alien biology since the war started. "I've been reading the intelligence reports," he said. "The Zephyrians have lost about 60 billion people so far. The Korthacs have lost 50 billion. But they keep fighting anyway. Why?" asked Lisa Park, the communications officer. She was young, maybe 25, and had never known peace. "Why don't they just stop?" Amy looked at the star map for a long time before answering. "The Zephyrians are a hive mind. They all think together like a big brain made of trillions of individuals. Once they decide something, it's very hard for them to change their minds. They decided this war was necessary, so they have to keep fighting." "What about the Korthics?" Jake asked. "They're warriors," Ben said. "Their whole culture is about honor and fighting. Giving up or retreating means losing face. It's worse than dying for them." Jake stared at the map. All those red and blue zones used to have other colors. Green for the Altarian Republic, before they got wiped out in year 300. Purple for the Centauri Alliance, destroyed in year 400. Yellow for dozens of smaller civilizations that no longer existed. "Captain," said communications officer Lisa, "we're getting a distress signal." "From who?" "Unknown ship about 6 light hours away. They're asking for help." Jake knew he shouldn't answer. Helping strangers in a war zone was a good way to get killed. But leaving people to die was not something humans did. It was one of the things that made them different from the aliens. "Put it on screen," he said. The image was fuzzy, but Jake could see it was a Korthic ship. The bridge was damaged and smoking. A tall alien with gray skin and 4 arms was trying to speak into their communicator. "This is Commander Zach Norton of the Korthic vessel Bloodspear. Our engines are dead and we have wounded aboard. Please help us. Amy looked surprised. A Korthak asking for help? They never do that. Maybe they're desperate, Jake said. Lisa, open a channel. This is Captain Morrison of the human ship New Horizon. We can assist you, but we need to know. Your situation first. The Korthak commander looked tired. We were in battle with the Zephyrians near the Vega system. Both our ships were damaged. We drifted here while making repairs. The Zephyrians left us alone because they had to retreat. 2. Are you still at war with us? Jake asked. Humans? No, you are not our enemy. You never were. This war is between Zephyr and Korthak. You just got caught in the middle. Jake made a decision. We'll send medical supplies and repair equipment, but we can't stay long. Thank you, Captain Morrison. Your people are known for their kindness. 2 hours later, Jake watched the Blood Spear fly away with new engines and healed crew members. Amy stood next to him, looking thoughtful. Jake, I want to study this war more closely, she said. Why? We already know it's a mess. No, I mean, really study it. The tactics, the politics, the psychology. There has to be a reason why it keeps going when both sides are dying. Jake looked at her. Amy had that look in her eyes, the one she got when she was solving a difficult problem. You think there's a way to stop it? Maybe humans see things differently than aliens do. We think differently. Maybe that's enough. Outside the window, another star system flashed and died. Jake thought about the 50,000 people depending on him to find them a new home. Maybe Amy was right. Maybe humans could do something the aliens couldn't. Study it, he said, but be careful. This war has been going on longer than human civilization. Don't expect to solve it overnight, Amy smiled. I won't, but I have to try. Someone has to try. The New Horizon changed course, heading away from the battle zone. Behind them, the galaxy continued to burn as it had for 473 years. But for the first time in a long time, Jake felt something he had almost forgotten: hope. Amy Patterson sat in her small office deep inside the New Horizon, surrounded by data screens and alien language books. For 3 months, she had been studying the war between the Zephyrians and Korthaks. What she found made no sense at all. The computers around her showed battle reports from the last 50 years. Ship movements, weapon usage, casualties, territory gained and lost. Amy had read them all, and the pattern was always the same. The Zephyrians would attack, the Korthaks would fight back, both sides would lose thousands of ships, and then they would go back to where they started. This is stupid, she said to herself, rubbing her tired eyes. She had been working for 18 hours straight. Captain Morrison walked into her office carrying 2 cups of coffee. Still trying to figure out alien psychology? He asked, setting 1 cup on her desk. Jake, look at this, Amy said, pointing to her main screen. 3 weeks ago, the Zephyrians captured the Rigel system. Yesterday, they gave it back to the Korthaks without a fight. Last month, the Korthaks took 4 planets in the Orion sector, then abandoned them the next day. Jake sat down and looked at the data. Maybe they ran out of supplies? No, that's not it. Watch this. Amy pulled up a video feed from a recent battle. On the screen, hundreds of ships from both sides were shooting at each other near a small moon. This battle lasted 6 hours. 1,500 ships were destroyed. But look at what they were fighting over. She zoomed in on the moon. It was gray, airless and completely worthless. There's nothing there, Jake said. No minerals, no strategic value, nothing. Exactly. They fought and died for a useless rock, then both fleets left and never came back. Amy switched to another screen. This happens everywhere. They fight huge battles over systems they don't even want to keep. Jake frowned. What are you thinking? I think they don't know how to stop. Before Jake could answer, Lisa Park's voice came over the intercom. Captain Morrison, please come to the communications room. We're getting some strange signals. They walked to the communications room, where Lisa was listening to her headphones with a confused look on her face. What kind of signals? Jake asked. I'm picking up private transmissions from both alien fleets. Not military communications, more like personal messages? And some of them are directed at us. Amy felt her heart beat faster. At us? You mean it humans? Yes, here, listen to this one. Lisa played an audio file. The voice was deep and growling, clearly Korthek. Human ship New Horizon. This is Commander Rex Gray of the Korthek battle cruiser Iron Thunder. I know you helped our damaged ship 3 months ago. I want to speak with someone about something important, not official business, personal. Jake and Amy looked at each other. Can we trust him? Jake asked. Let me try something, Amy said. Lisa, send a message back. Tell him we'll talk, but only if he comes alone in a small ship. 6 hours later, Amy sat in the New Horizons docking bay across from Commander Rex. Gray. The Korthak was 7 feet tall with gray skin and 4 muscular arms. His face had scars from many battles, but his eyes looked tired and sad. Thank you for seeing me, Rex said in broken human language. I know this is dangerous for both of us. Why did you want to talk? Amy asked. Rex was quiet for a long time, then spoke very slowly. My people have been fighting this war for longer than I have been alive. My father fought in this war. His father fought in this war. I have 4 sons, and they will fight in this war too. That's how wars work, Amy said gently. No, you don't understand. Rex leaned forward. I don't want to fight anymore. Many of my warriors don't want to fight anymore, but we cannot stop. Amy felt something click in her mind. Why can't you stop? Because stopping means we lose honor. Korthaks who retreat or surrender are cast out from their families. It is worse than death. But we are tired, human Amy. So very tired. The next day, Amy received another secret message. This time it was from a Zephyrian. Lieutenant Su Chang was part of the Zephyrian diplomatic corps, and she wanted to meet just like Rex had. Su looked very different from Rex. She was smaller than a human with pale blue skin and large black eyes. Her voice was soft and musical. I represent many voices in the collective, Su said, using the Zephyrian name for their hive mind. We have been monitoring your species since you arrived in our space. What do you want? Amy asked. The same thing the Korthak commander wants, peace, but our problem is different from theirs. Sue's large eyes looked sad. The collective decided to fight this war 400 years ago. All minds agreed it was necessary. But minds change. Slowly in the collective, very slowly. How slowly? To change a decision this big, we would need 70% of all Zephyrians to agree. That is over 2 trillion individuals. It could take 100 years just to ask them all. Amy felt like puzzle pieces were falling into place. So you're stuck fighting a war you don't want because you can't change your mind fast enough. Yes. And the Korthaks are stuck fighting because they cannot retreat without losing face. What about making peace? Amy asked. Su shook her head. Peace requires one side to stop first. The collective cannot stop without consensus. The Korthaks cannot stop without honor, so we keep fighting. After Sue left, Amy sat alone in her office staring at the star maps. She understood now. This wasn't really a war anymore. It was a trap that both sides had built for themselves. The Zephyrians were trapped by their own decision-making process. They had agreed to fight so long ago that most of them couldn't even remember why. But their hive mind moved too slowly to change course. The Korthaks were trapped by their culture of honor. They couldn't stop fighting without admitting defeat. And admitting defeat was the worst thing a Korthak could do. Both sides wanted peace, but neither could take the first step. Amy opened her computer and started making notes. She thought about her old job as a teacher on Earth. The best way to solve a difficult problem was to change the question. Instead of asking, how do we stop this war? Maybe she should ask, how do we help both sides stop without losing face? She worked through the night, reading everything she could about Zephyrian psychology and Korthak honor codes. Slowly an idea began to form. It was crazy and dangerous, but it might work. The key was giving both sides something bigger to worry about than each other. Amy picked up her communicator and called Captain Morrison. Jake, I need to talk to you about something important. I think I know how to end this war. Amy, it's 3 a.m, I know, but this can't wait. I think I've found a way to save the galaxy. Outside her window, the stars continued to burn as they had for 473 years. But Amy Patterson, former Earth teacher and current human scientist, had just discovered something that might change everything. She had found the war's weakness. Now she just needed to figure out how to use it. Amy Patterson stood in front of the Refugee Council meeting room, holding a datapad with her crazy plan. Captain Morrison sat at the head of the table, along with the other ship leaders who helped run what was left of humanity. Dr. Ben Clark was there, along with Engineer Paul Davis, Supply Officer Kate Wilson, and 5 other department heads. "You want to do what?" Jake asked, his voice louder than usual. "End the war," Amy said simply. "I think I know how to do it." "Amy, this war has been going on for 473 years, said Paul Davis. "Billions of people have tried to stop it. What makes you think one human can do what entire civilizations couldn't?" Amy walked to the front of the room and activated the big screen. It showed the galaxy map with all the red and blue war zones. "Because we think differently," she said. "Look, I've been talking to people from both sides. They're trapped. The Zephyrians can't stop fighting because their hive mind moves too slowly to change decisions. The Korthax can't stop because their culture says retreating is shameful. So?" asked Kate Wilson. "So they both want to stop, but they need a reason that lets them save face. They need something bigger than their war to worry about." Dr. Clark leaned forward. "What kind of something?" Amy took a deep breath. "An outside threat. Something that scares them more than losing to each other." The room went quiet. Jake stared at her. "You want to lie to them?" "Yes, we create a fake enemy that's coming to destroy both of them. Then we offer to help coordinate their defense. While they're working together against the fake threat, they get used to not fighting each other." "That's insane," Paul said. "Is it?" Amy pulled up new data on the screen. "Humans lie all the time. We're good at it. We can change our minds without feeling bad about it. We can pretend things that aren't real. These aliens can't do any of that." She switched to a picture of a Zephyrian. "The Zephyrians share all their thoughts. They can't lie to each other, and they can barely lie to outsiders. Their minds are too connected." Then she showed a picture of a Korthic warrior. "The Korthax have an honor code that makes lying worse than dying. They're honest to a fault." "But we're not," Jake said slowly. "Exactly. We can sell them a story they can't see through because they don't think like us." Amy began explaining her plan. It had 3 parts, and each part was more dangerous than the last. First, we convince both sides that a huge outside threat is coming. Something from outside the galaxy. Planet destroyers, or space monsters, or an ancient robot army. Something that makes their war look small. "How do we convince them?" asked Kate. "We fake the evidence. Human ships broadcast fake distress signals. We create false sensor readings. We make up refugee reports from the Outer Rim. Both sides will believe it because they trust their technology and we can fool their technology." "What's the second part?" Ben asked. "We offer humanity as neutral coordinators. Both sides need to stop fighting each other so they can prepare for the big threat. But neither side can suggest peace first because that would mean admitting the war was wrong. So we suggest it." Amy brought up a new diagram showing human ships between the 2 alien fleets. "We tell the Zephyrians this is optimal resource management for hive survival. We tell the Korthax this is strategic repositioning for a more honorable battle. Both sides get to stop fighting without losing face." "And the third part?" Jake asked, though he looked like he already knew he wouldn't like the answer. "We maintain the illusion long enough for both sides to get used to peace, 6 months, maybe a year. Then the fake threat mysteriously moves on to another galaxy, but by then both sides have been working together. They'll have trade agreements, shared defense projects, maybe even friendships." The room was silent for a long time. Paul Davis was the first to speak. "Amy, this plan requires us to lie to 2 galactic empires with billions of ships and trillions of soldiers. If they figure out we're lying, they'll turn both fleets on us. If we do nothing, we'll eventually get caught in the crossfire anyway." Amy replied, At least this way we have a chance. It's too risky, Jake said. We're responsible for the last 50,000 humans in the universe. We can't gamble with their lives. We're already gambling with their lives every day, Amy shot back. Every time we move through a war zone. Every time we stop for supplies. Every time we breathe. She pulled up another screen showing human refugee numbers over time. The line kept going down. We lose people every month, Jake. Disease, accidents, despair. In 10 years, there might only be 20,000 of us left. In 20 years, maybe 5,000. We're dying slowly. At least we're still alive, Ben said quietly. Are we? We're running from system to system like scared mice? We have no home, no future, no hope. Our children are growing up in storage bays and recycled air. Is that really living? Amy walked around the table, looking each person in the eye. I'm not asking you to trust my plan because it's safe. I'm asking you to trust it because it's the only plan that gives us a real future. If it works, we don't just survive. We become the species that ended a 473-year war. We become the mediators and peacekeepers of the galaxy. And if it fails? Jake asked. Then we die as heroes instead of refugees, Kate Wilson spoke up. What exactly would we need to do this? Amy had been hoping someone would ask. We need to modify our sensors to create false readings. We need to record fake distress signals. We need to coordinate with both alien fleets at the same time without them knowing we're talking to the other side. That's a lot of lying, Paul said. Yes, it is. But lying is something humans are uniquely good at. The Zephyrians will analyze our fake data with their supercomputers and believe it because they can't imagine anyone would make up something so elaborate. The Cortex will believe it because they think lying about something this serious would be dishonorable, so we obviously wouldn't do it. Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars looked peaceful, but Amy knew several of them were actually battlefields. How long do we have to decide? He asked. Not long. Long-range sensors show both fleets are heading for a major battle in the Kepler system. If we're going to do this, that's our best chance. Big battle, both sides. Desperate for any advantage. When? 3 days, Jake turned back to the room. All in favor of Amy's plan? Nobody moved for a moment. Then Kate Wilson slowly raised her hand. Ben Clark raised his next, then Paul Davis. One by one, all the department heads voted yes. Jake looked at Amy. You realize if this goes wrong, you'll be remembered as the person who got humanity wiped out. And if it goes right, I'll be remembered as the person who saved the galaxy. Jake smiled for the first time in months. All right, Dr. Patterson, let's end a war. Amy felt her heart racing. In 3 days, she would either be a hero or a corpse. But for the first time since Earth died, she felt like humanity had a real chance at something better than just survival. They had a chance to matter. Amy Patterson sat in the communications center of the New Horizon, surrounded by screens showing the biggest alien battle in 50 years. The Zephyrian and Korthak fleets had met at Kepler 442b, and 6,000 ships were shooting at each other. With everything they had, it was 0800 Standard Galactic Time. Amy looked at her watch and took a deep breath. In 5 hours, this war would either be over or humanity would be dead. Lisa, are the fake sensor readings ready? Amy asked. Yes, Lisa Park replied from her station. The computer will show massive ships approaching from outside the galaxy. The energy signatures look real. Ben, what about the distress signals? Dr. Ben Clark nodded from his position. We have 12 fake emergency broadcasts ready. They'll sound like outer rim colonies being attacked by unknown forces. Captain Morrison stood behind Amy's chair. You sure about this? No, Amy said honestly. But we're doing it anyway. Lisa, start broadcasting the fake sensor data to both fleets. The first hour began. Amy watched her screens as false information flowed toward both alien fleets. According to her fake data, long-range sensors had detected a massive fleet of unknown ships moving toward the galaxy from deep space. The ships were bigger than anything ever seen, and they were destroying everything in their path. Both fleets are receiving the data, Lisa reported. They're running it through their analysis computers. Amy's heart pounded. This was the most dangerous part. If either side figured out the data was fake, they would know humans were lying to them. The punishment for that would be complete destruction. The Zephyrians are sharing the data across their hive mind, Ben said, monitoring alien communications. It's spreading to their entire fleet. The Kortheks are sending the data to their war council, Lisa added. They're treating it as a serious threat report. Amy allowed herself to breathe a little easier. The first step was working. 20 minutes into the first hour, something unexpected happened. Both alien fleets stopped shooting at each other. Jake, look at this, Amy said, pointing to her tactical screen. They've ceased fire. The battle that had been raging for 6 hours suddenly went quiet. 6,000 warships hung in space, no longer trying to kill each other. Both sides were too busy analyzing the threat data to keep fighting. Hour 1 complete, Amy said. Starting hour 2. The second hour was about verification. Amy knew both alien races would try to confirm the threat was real before making any decisions. She had prepared for this. Ben, start broadcasting the fake distress signals, she ordered, the communication center filled with the sound of panicked voices. All of them were human crew members pretending to be alien colonists under attack. Mayday, this is Outer Rim Station Alpha 7. Unknown ships are attacking us. They're huge, bigger than anything we've ever seen. They're not responding to any communications. Oh God, they're destroying the station. Anyone receiving this, stay away from the Outer Rim. Stay away, ... The signal cut to static. The Zephyrians are trying to contact Outer Rim Station Alpha 7, Lisa reported. They're getting no response because it doesn't exist? The Kortheks are sending scout ships to verify the attacks, Ben added, but the areas we mentioned are too far away. It will take their scouts 3 days to get there, Amy smiled grimly. Perfect. By the time they figure out we're lying, this will be over one way or another. More fake distress signals followed. Colonies being destroyed, refugee ships fleeing in terror, desperate pleas for help from the outer galaxy. All of it carefully crafted to make both alien fleets believe a massive threat was approaching. Both sides are starting to withdraw from the battle zone, Jake observed. They're repositioning their fleets. Hour 2 complete, Amy announced. Starting hour 3. This was the crucial moment. Amy had to contact both fleet commanders simultaneously and offer human mediation without either side knowing she was talking to the other. Lisa, open a secure channel to the Zephyrian flagship. Ben, open a separate channel to the Korthak command ship. Make sure they can't detect each other's signals. Amy split her attention between 2 screens. On the left was Admiral 579, a tall Zephyrian with pale blue skin and large black eyes. On the right was General Marcus Steele, a massive Korthak warrior with gray skin and battle scars. Admiral 579, Amy said to the left screen. I am Dr. Amy Patterson representing the human refugee fleet. We have been monitoring the approaching threat from outside the galaxy. General Steele, she said to the right screen, I am Dr. Amy Patterson from the Human Survivors. We have intelligence about the external threat that's heading this way. Both aliens looked surprised to hear from humans. What do you want? Admiral 579 asked. What do you know? General Steele demanded. Amy had practiced this moment for days. She had to give each side exactly what they needed to hear. Admiral, the approaching threat is too large for any single fleet to handle. The hive mind must consider optimal resource allocation. Fighting the Kortheks now wastes ships and soldiers needed for the greater threat. General, these outsiders are the enemy of all galaxy inhabitants. Honor demands we focus on the true threat, not on old disputes. The greatest warriors fight the greatest battles. Both commanders considered her words. What do you propose, human? The Admiral asked. What is your suggestion? The General questioned. Temporary cessation of hostilities while both fleets prepare for the external threat. Humanity offers to serve as neutral coordinators during the preparation period. Amy held her breath. This was the moment of truth. The hive mind will consider this proposal. Admiral 579 said slowly. The War Council will discuss your suggestion, General Steele replied. Hour 3 complete, Amy whispered. Starting hour 4. The fourth hour was negotiation. Time. Amy had convinced both sides to come to the New Horizon for talks. The human ship positioned itself exactly between the two alien fleets. Admiral 579 arrived with 2 advisors. General Steele brought 3 warriors. Amy met them in the ship's largest conference room, carefully seating them so neither side felt insulted. Before we begin, Amy said, I want to establish the ground rules. This is not about ending your war permanently. This is about tactical cooperation against an external threat. Both sides nodded, Amy continued. Admiral for the Zephyrian Empire. This represents optimal resource management. Your hive mind can present this as strategic repositioning for maximum efficiency. General for the Korthic Federation, this is preparation for the most honorable battle in galactic history. Your warriors will face the greatest enemy ever encountered. How long would this ... cooperation last? The Admiral asked. Until the external threat is neutralized or moves on, Amy replied smoothly. What guarantees do we have? General Steele demanded. Humanity will monitor both fleets and coordinate defense preparations. We will ensure neither side gains unfair advantage during the cooperation period. The negotiations continued for 40 minutes. Amy carefully managed every detail, making sure both sides felt they were getting what they needed. Hour 4 complete, she announced quietly. Starting hour 5? The final hour was about signatures and ceremony. Amy had prepared a formal document called the Armistice of Kepler 442b. This document establishes temporary cessation of hostilities between the Zephyrian Empire and Korthic Federation for the purpose of mutual defense against external threats. Amy read aloud that she had written 2 versions of the same document. The Zephyrian copy emphasized optimal strategic resource allocation. The Korthic copy emphasized honorable preparation for glorious battle. At 1300 Standard Galactic Time, exactly 5 hours after Amy had started her plan, both Admiral 579 and General Steele signed the armistice. The 473-year war was over. Amy looked around the conference room at the alien commanders who had been trying to kill each other that morning. Now they were shaking hands and discussing defense strategies. Captain Morrison, she said into her communicator, you can tell the crew. We did it. Outside the conference room windows, 6,000 warships that had been enemies for centuries slowly began moving into defensive formations. They were still pointing their weapons outward, toward the fake threat that would never come. Amy Patterson, former teacher from Earth, had just accomplished something no one thought possible. She had ended the galaxy's longest war with nothing but human cleverness and the ability to tell a convincing lie. The best part was that both sides felt like they had won. 6 months had passed since the armistice of Kepler 442b, and Amy Patterson stood on the observation deck of the new Galactic Council station watching something she had never thought possible. Zephyrian and Korthak ships were docked side by side, their crews working together to unload cargo and supplies. The fake invasion had never come, just as Amy had planned. But by the time both alien races realized there was no external threat, they had discovered something more valuable than victory. They had discovered peace. Dr. Patterson, the council is ready for you, said a young Zephyrian aide named 724. She had been born during the war but had spent her first 6 months of life in a galaxy without fighting. The difference showed in her eyes, which were curious instead of fearful. Amy walked into the council chambers, where representatives from both former enemy empires waited for her. 6 months ago, these same beings had been trying to kill each other. Now they were arguing about trade routes and mineral rights like civilized neighbors. The motion before us today, announced Speaker 915, an elderly Zephyrian who served as council president, is the appointment of Dr. Amy Patterson as the first director of interspecies conflict resolution. Amy felt nervous as she had that day. 5 hours changed everything. The council vote was unanimous. Both Zephyrians and Korthax wanted her to help them solve problems with words instead of weapons. "Thank you," Amy said as she accepted the position. "I promise to serve the galaxy with the same dedication I showed when I helped end the Great War." After the ceremony, Amy returned to the New Horizon, which was now permanently docked at the station. Captain Morrison met her in the corridor with a big smile. "Director Patterson," he said formally, then laughed. "I still can't believe it. 6 months ago we were refugees with no home. Now you're running galactic diplomacy and I'm planning the construction of 3 new human colonies." They walked to Amy's new office, which had windows overlooking the former battlefield of Kepler 442b, where thousands of ships had once tried to destroy each other. Construction crews were now building the first joint Zephyrian-Korthic research station. "How are the colony plans going?" Amy asked. "Better than we dreamed," Jake replied. "Both alien governments are offering us territory as payment for ending the war. The Zephyrians want us to settle in their border systems to serve as neutral mediators with their neighbors. The Korthax are giving us mining rights to systems they conquered but don't need anymore." Amy looked at the reports on her desk. New Terra, humanity's first permanent colony, was being built on a planet that had been a battleground just months ago. The irony was perfect. Humans were literally building their new home on the ashes of the old war. "What about the people?" she asked. "They're excited. For the first time since Earth died, humans have something to look forward to instead of just running away from." A communication signal interrupted their conversation. Lisa Park's face appeared on the office screen. "Amy, we have a situation. The Andorian Republic and the Centauri Alliance are having a border dispute. Both sides are asking for human mediation." Amy smiled. Word about human diplomatic abilities was spreading across the galaxy. Other species had heard about the impossible peace at Kepler 442b and wanted the same kind of help. "Set up a meeting for tomorrow," Amy said, "and start training more human diplomats. We're going to be busy." Over the following months, Amy developed what became known as the Patterson method of conflict resolution. It was based on 3 simple principles that only humans seemed to understand. First, every conflict had underlying psychology that the fighters themselves couldn't see. Just like the Zephyrians and Korthax had been trapped by their own nature, most wars continued because the participants didn't understand why they were really fighting. Second, face-saving was more important than winning. Most species would rather keep fighting forever than admit they had been wrong. Humans could help them find ways to stop fighting that felt like victory for everyone. Third, sometimes the best solution was to change the question entirely. Instead of asking, "How do we win?" humans asked, "How do we all get what we really want?" Amy's first major success after the Great War involved the Rigel mining dispute between the Tausetians and the Procyon Collective. Both sides claimed the same asteroid belt and had been fighting over it for 20 years. Amy spent a week studying both cultures, then proposed something that shocked everyone. Instead of fighting over who owned the asteroids, why not create a joint mining operation where both sides shared the profits? The Tausetians got the steady income they needed for their growing population. The Procyon Collective got the rare metals they needed for their technology. Everyone won. The solution seemed obvious once someone suggested it, but neither side had thought of it because they were too focused on beating each other. A year after the Great War ended, Amy opened the first human diplomatic academy on New Terra. Young humans from across the galaxy came to learn the art of peaceful problem-solving. "The key to human diplomacy," Amy told her students, "is that we can think outside the box because we don't have a box. We're not limited by hive minds or honor codes or ancient traditions. We can adapt, we can lie when necessary, and we can change our minds without feeling shame." One of her students, a young man named Chris Baker, raised his hand. "But isn't lying wrong?" "Sometimes a small lie prevents a big war," Amy replied. "I told the Zephyrians and Korthax that a fake enemy was coming. That lie saved billions of lives and ended centuries of suffering. Was it wrong?" The students thought about this carefully. Amy continued, "Humans have always been good at creative solutions because we're survivors. We faced every kind of disaster on Earth: ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, wars. We learned to adapt or die. Other species evolved in more stable environments, so they think in more rigid ways. What makes us special? Asked another student, a girl named Sarah Kim. We're not smarter than other species, Amy said. We're not stronger or faster or more advanced. But we're more flexible. We can become whatever the situation requires. Sometimes that means being warriors. Sometimes it means being explorers. Sometimes it means being peacemakers. Amy walked to the window of the academy, looking out at New Terra's growing cities. Human children were playing in parks built on former battlefields. Zephyrian and Korthic visitors came to trade and learn. Ships from dozens of species docked at the orbital stations every day. 5 years ago, humanity was almost extinct, she told her students. We had no home, no future, no hope. Today, we're the most respected mediators in the galaxy. Tomorrow, who knows what we might become? The Academy's communication system chimed with an incoming message. Amy smiled as she read it. The Vegan Empire and the Altair Federation were having a trade dispute and requesting human mediation. Class dismissed, Amy announced. I have a war to prevent. As her students filed out, Amy reflected on how much had changed. The galaxy that had once been nothing but red and blue war zones was now filled with green neutral systems, yellow trade routes, and purple diplomatic zones. Humans had not just survived the end of their world. They had found their true purpose. Among the stars, Amy Patterson, former teacher from a dead planet, had become something she never expected. She was the person who taught the galaxy how to stop fighting and start talking. In her final logged entry that night, she wrote the words that would become the motto of human diplomacy. The greatest victory is not defeating your enemies, but helping them realize they don't need to be your enemies at all. Outside her window, the stars no longer burned with the light of war. They shone with the peaceful glow of ships carrying trade goods, diplomats, and hope to every corner of the galaxy. The age of endless war was over. The age of human peace had begun.